Hey YouTube, welcome to episode 16 of my investment journey series. This is the series I do right here on my YouTube channel where I take you guys through my entire Trading 212 portfolio as somebody who's a complete beginner to the world of stock markets, investing and all that sort of thing. I'm actually sitting down on the floor today because my cat Hugo has decided to take over the chair. So instead of chucking him off, I thought it would be nice and let him stay there. If you've not seen any of my previous videos, my name's Ian and I started investing at the beginning of April as the UK first entered lockdown. I thought it was a good time to get into the markets and start investing, take advantage of the share prices and everything being cut down so low. So that is when I first got into this journey of mine. In this series I talk about things that have went well, things that haven't went so well. I talk about dividends I've received and dividends are upcoming, companies I've recently invested into and ones that I'm looking to invest into. And it's just a way of me keeping myself accountable, sharing my journey, sharing the highs and the lows with all you guys on YouTube and continuing to invest for the long term. So if you're a beginner like me, you're looking to get involved investing or you currently are investing, consider hitting the subscribe button below, follow along with my journey and let's see where we all are in 5 or 10 years down the line. Let's now jump over to my iPhone screen as always and I'll take you guys through my Trading 212 app and we'll look over the past week. Say bye. So we're on my iPhone screen as usual and I'll open up the Trading 212 app. We've got green, red, green, 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 red, 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 green, red and green. So again, much like last week, it's a bit of a mix. Let's delve in a little bit deeper here and see what's been going on. If we look at last week as the markets opened on the Monday, so Monday 13th of July, this was at 1 o'clock in the morning, so let's move up a little bit here. So yeah, before the markets opened on Monday, the portfolio was sitting at a return of £250 with 4.26% up, 4.26% green in the portfolio, and the portfolio value at that point was £6,129.29 as it's shown right there. My total amount invested was £5,878.95 and yeah, the return, like I said there, £250.34, so 4.26% up in the portfolio overall. So that was at the beginning of last week on the Monday 13th of July, and at this point today, so this is Sunday 19th of July, and the portfolio is now £6,889.50 because I did actually deposit and invest some more money this week. I'll get into that and show you what I did. So my total amount now invested is £6,480.38. So like I said, it was 5,878.95. It's now 6,480.38, and the return has went from £250.10 to £409.12. So the portfolio is now actually 6.31% up overall. Still green, looking extremely healthy considering everything that's going on. Let's now go down to the investments like we always do and see in more detail what's been happening there. So from the 13th of July last week, I started off by buying another 9.1 shares in the FTSE 100 ETF. So that cost me, as you can see there, £55.17. I then also bought another 1.5 shares in the Vanguard FTSE Emerging Markets ETF, which was £70. And later in the week, so on the 15th of July, purchased again the FTSE Emerging Markets. I also bought 4 into the iShares Core S&P 500, then another one in the emerging markets, and then I bought 5 in the S&P 500 Healthcare Sector ETF. And then come 17th of July, I had been paid, so I deposited £350 into my Trading 212 account. I bought another 4 in the S&P 500 ETF, then I bought 16 in the FTSE 100, and then I bought 8 again in the S&P 500 Healthcare Sector ETF. We didn't receive any dividends from this past week. The dividends that I've received so far, my total is still sitting at £42.74, but yeah, there's not been any in the last week to mention. So American Airlines, my 2 free shares as always. If we look at the weekly view, looks like it did rise quite sharply through the middle of the week, come Wednesday into Thursday, and then it kind of crashed down a bit and sort of leveled out again. So we're actually down 0.25% from last week with our American Airlines, our 2 free shares, and they are now currently showing a return of £3.89 in the portfolio. So they're 25.83% up overall since I received these 2 free shares. Hive Group, again sticking with the weekly view, it looks like come Tuesday time they crashed out pretty majorly and then started to recover slightly near the end of the day and then crashed again in the Wednesday morning. Rose pretty sharp on the Wednesday. down again the Thursday, and down up again to finalise the week. So pretty volatile this past week. And if I look at the investment, it's now showing a return for me of minus £7.20. So that's actually down 24.86% overall. This, if you've seen previous videos, you'll know this is one of my risky gambling ones that I took a punt on, to be honest. It's purely because it was so cheap. That's why I bought into them. It's not worked out so far, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming months. Coming down to the iShares Core FTSE 100 ETF, this is, again, looking at the weekly view, it's been a climber for the whole week, which is really good to see. And it rose pretty considerably on the Wednesday, and it dropped a little bit on Thursday, but it started to climb again towards the end of the week. Like I said, I did buy into this ETF again, the FTSE 100, earlier in the week, by quite a bit. I just showed you that in the history view of this past week. And I just still feel a lot of people don't think there's much value left in the FTSE 100 because it's so reliant on the banking sectors and oil and gas. And the fact that these sort of companies are dying, people could say, and they're on their way out, and so on and so on. But I personally still think buying in the FTSE 100 right just now is a great thing to do, purely because it's just so cheap. Luckily, I did buy into the FTSE 100 when it was pretty much at its lowest point in March. So this is why it's looking so healthy for me at the moment. It's actually shown a return of 9.10% overall for me, and we're actually up now £162.70 on the portfolio, and that is with my 316 units. I'm pretty chuffed with this one, and it's going to be one I'm going to continue to hold and invest in for the long term. No plans to get rid of this at all anytime soon, and it will just be interesting to see how the FTSE 100 plays out over the coming months, especially with all these localised lockdowns and stuff that's happening. Next up, we've got the iShares Core S&P 500 ETF. If we look at the weekly view, pretty volatile. So it's climbed, dropped on the Tuesday, started to climb again, and it has actually continued to climb again throughout the rest of the week, which is pretty positive to see. So looking at my investment in the S&P 500, we have 72 units. So it's currently showing a return of £151.21 for me. So it's up 8.95% overall. And that's with my 72 units, like I say, which is a total of £1,840.64. Looking at the iShares Nasdaq 100 ETF, I've had previous comments asking how to invest in this and so on with Trading 212. If you just look on if you search a ticker symbol, it's CNX1. You can see at the top here, that's what the ticker symbol is. You can find it easily enough. But looking at my investment, it is my one unit, which is £476.86. Currently showing a return for me of £44.74. So it's up 10.35% overall on the portfolio. And looking at the weekly view, so at the beginning of the week, it was climbing considerably. Took a steep drop on Tuesday, and then it continued to kind of drop throughout the week, climb, then drop again. So yeah, it kind of looked volatile throughout the rest of the week. We'll then come down to the iShares S&P 500 healthcare sector. This one's actually been doing really well this week, and there's a lot of talks about this whole vaccine and the progress getting made towards COVID treatments and so on. I'm presuming, that's why the price of this ETF has continued to climb throughout the week, because this has all been coming out recently in the news. So up overall from last week, 5.38%. And I have 38 units in this ETF, currently showing a return of £2.44 overall, so we're up 1.04%. And that is with my investment of £237.70. I think having my portfolio invested in healthcare is a good thing to do. I'm going to keep it that way. We've always relied on healthcare, and I think with everything recently, with this whole pandemic that we're still going through, the reliance on healthcare is not going to go away, and I just feel the demand, if anything, is going to continue to grow, which is why I'm going to keep this ETF in my portfolio. Next up, some legal in general. Didn't do anything with this in the past week. I've not added to it or nothing like that. It's actually increased by 3.69% from last week, so it's looking volatile if we look at the weekly view. Lots of ups and downs. Quite a climb on the Wednesday, but again crashed a little bit. That's my 145 shares, which is worth £329.72. So now currently showing a return of £34.20, which is 11.57% up overall on the portfolio. Next one here, MGM Resorts. Again, previous videos and watchers will know this was another one I took a complete gamble on because the price was so low, and it's not worked out too well for me so far. However, looking at the weekly view, it's actually went up 3.77% from last week. I didn't invest too much money into this one. It was another one I took a gamble on, hence why I didn't put a lot of money into it. but we'll just have to see how things go over the coming weeks and months. So I've now got 5 shares in this ETF, value of £66.87, currently showing a return minus £22.86, so we're down overall 25.48% with this investment. Next here, National Grid, my 3 free shares. As I always tell you guys, this has been a climber for the whole week, which is good news. Up 2.67% from last week. So my 3 shares, £26.75 it's worth, currently showing a return of minus £1.51. So we're down 5.34% overall with this investment. Not looking to buy into this anymore myself, although it might be a good time to do so if they're looking like a climber at the moment. But like I say, these are my free shares, so I'm just going to keep them that way for the time being. Moving on to Royal Dutch Shell, RDSB ticker symbol, if you're interested and in the UK looking to invest. Looking at the weekly view, it's actually up 4.22% from last week. So that's really positive to see. It's climbed considerably through the week and then kind of leveled out a little bit and then started to drop near the end of the week again. But like I say, a 4.22% increase from last week is extremely good news, especially considering this is one of my bigger investments. I've got 78 shares, totaling a £967.33 value, and that has now shown a return of minus £26.53 for me. So it's actually down 2.67% overall, this investment. But I've got a lot of faith that this will pay off extremely well in the future, and like I say, it's a long-term hold. I'm not looking to get rid of it anytime soon. If anything, I might even invest a little bit more into it when the time is right, but for just now, I'm happy to keep it as my 78 shares. Next up's Under Armour. These were my 2 free shares, again received from you guys with signing up through my referral links. So from last week, it's actually up 7.24%, so that's really good news. For looking at the weekly view here, it actually took a sharp climb on the Tuesday into the Wednesday, and it continued to climb throughout the rest of the week. So yeah, 7.24% up from last week, my 2 shares, which equal a value of £16.23, currently showing a return of 23p, which means they're up 1.44% overall. Next here is Valaris, 26 shares. Again, previous watchers and so on will know this was a gamble one for me, again, because it was so cheap, only reason I bought into it. And as you can see, it's not worked out too well. However, looking at the weekly view, it's up 1.12% from last week. Again, looks pretty volatile. Looks like there was some good climbs on the Wednesday into the Thursday, and then it continued to drop again into the end of the week when the market closed. So my investment at the moment is 26 shares, which is a value of £12.51, currently showing a return of minus £32, which means they're down 71.89% overall for me. This investment is probably one of my worst ones in the portfolio, but yeah, it was just a gamble, and we'll just have to, again, see what happens. And yeah, as I always say, you only make the loss when you sell at a loss. So although it's looking extremely bad right now and I'm in the red, I've not actually lost anything yet unless I was to sell at this point. But from what I've seen with this company, things aren't looking very good. So we're just going to have to, again, hold and see what happens here. And last but not least is the Vanguard FTSE Emerging Markets ETF. This is actually down 0.45% from last week. It has been doing pretty well if we look at the monthly view though. It has been a climber. And then it's only this last week it's really started to take a drop. But again, it's a long-term hold for me. So the weekly view, we're down 0.45% from last week. I have 20 units in this ETF, which equals £922.60 in value. So it's now showing a return of £99.81, which means they're up 12.13% overall for me. I've got this one in my portfolio because I want to have some diversification in the emerging markets of the world. And I think this is one of the best ETFs personally for me to do that. So it's going to be one I'm going to continue to invest into. I always want this one to be around at least 10 or 15% overall of my portfolio. And if you're interested in looking this one up, the ticker symbol is simply VFEM, and that is for this ETF. And then finally, coming down to the allocation view overall. So I've still got 13 investments. I've not added any new ones this week. Portfolio value now is £6,889.50. FTSE 100's taken up 28.33%. The S&P 500's taken up 26.72%. We've got Shell taking up 14.04%. FTSE emerging markets, like I just mentioned there, I always want that to hover between the 10-15% overall the portfolio, and that's now taken up 13.39%, so I'm happy with that at the moment. The Nasdaq 100, 6.92%, and that's what I'm going to add to when I can, but just not right at the moment because it is so expensive again to buy into. Legal and General Group, 4.79%. The S&P 500 Healthcare Sector, 3.45%. MGM Resorts, 0.97%. National Grid, 0.39%. Hive, 0.32%. American Airlines, my free shares, 0.28%. Under Armour, free shares, 0.24%. And Valaris, 0.18%. So that's how things are looking this week, guys. A pretty decent climb, if I'm being honest, throughout the week. Again, looking at the start of last week, £250.22 return, and we're now sitting up at £409.12, so I'm happy with that. The ISA utilisation overall is 25%. That is what I've got invested into my stocks and shares ISA, and that is what I'm taking up, 25%. And again, if you have got to this point in the video and you're interested in starting investing and you haven't invested before, again, like me, if you're a complete beginner, I recommend using this platform as you're seeing here. This is Trading212, and if you sign up using one of my referral links, which will be in the description of this video, I will also pin it as a top comment in this video. So if you scroll down to the comments, it will be the top pinned comment. If you sign up using my referral link, you will receive a free share worth up to £100 with Trading212, and again, I will also receive a free share worth up to £100. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed this portfolio update. Let me know in the comments section how your investments have been looking this past week, and let me know if there's been any really big movers for you and what your plans are next. Thanks again, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video.